Well, so Thursday is here. Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We are on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. You can catch us on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, Food and Drugs Authority shuts down the East Legon branch of Marco restaurant. Following complaints by its customers, they suffered alleged food poisoning after eating there.
Could not help with their self-medication. They have to go to the hospital. Some thought that it was a normal, problem, stomach ache. Some of them were running, some were throwing out and all that. So at the end of the day, we had countless of customers who call in.
Well, stay with us as we bring you the latest on the story. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta mounts a strong defense for the controversial Agyapa mineral royalties deal as he signals government will not back down in its quest to push through the botched deal.
My firm philosophical belief really is that the capital markets are meant for something. That will lead us to equity resources, and we are not leveraging on it.
And the fight against terrorism. National Security reassigns its operatives from the Tema Harbour as part of ongoing efforts to enhance the fight against growing extremism in the West African sub-region. Meanwhile, the importers and exporters are happy about the redeployment of security operatives. We'll hear from them right here on The Pulse. I am blessed. Sogah. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities, Digni Low, Affordable Safe Sanitation. This afternoon, we are streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles. Feel free to be a part of the show. Join us. It's at JoyNews on TV. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Thanks for choosing us. Please stay. Well, so this afternoon, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is giving a clear indication that government will not back down in its quest to push through the controversial Agyapa mineral royalties deal. At a news conference a while ago, the minister provided a tall list of reasons why the deal that he describes as good should not be dropped. Ken Ofori-Atta says his mind is still on the Agyapa deal as he signals the Attorney General will in the coming days commence engagement with stakeholders to determine the best approach to monetizing Ghana's gold royalties.
Around that, Nancy maybe talked about Agyapa. I mean, my firm philosophical belief really is that the capital markets are meant for something. That will lead us to equity resources, and we are not leveraging on it. And therefore, the question, it's not a question of whether monetization of mineral royalties or listing of the company is bad or good. It is good because that is how you raise resources. The question is the process of doing that. If we have a problem with the process, let's articulate it, let's cure it, but let's not drop, something that will be good for us and reduce our debt exposure. So those are two very different questions. How best to do it, as opposed to don't do it. And so my mind is still there. I know the president has mentioned something about that, going through the AG and Parliament again to do that. But it's not something that I think is an asset to the country that one needs to drop. You need to examine all your equity and debt positions and make the best choice for the country, not the fleeting instances. We will never have done senior high school if we listened to other people. That's 400,000 lives now, that have a chance to do something. We would have stopped short at E-levy because of the noise, and suddenly we have a tax handle that will be phenomenally important for the country. So we need to look at that. I think with regards to, once again, the results of the consolidation and the announcements about travel and reduction in salaries and all of that, the controller will be giving us a report to see. But it's really early days yet. But I think what was significant was really the issue of sacrifice and recognition by leadership that these are difficult times and we should join. Sometimes it's not a quantum, but it's exercising a sense that you are au fait with what is happening with your people and you are joining in it to make sure that you are all burden sharing. And I think that may be the more important lesson. But it leads to a certain frugality because now, I went to the spring meetings with 8 people as opposed to prior years that may be double or 3 times depending on all of the meetings, because now Zoom has become a real part of our lives, So I think that signaling is what must be heralded, an acknowledgement that we are all one people and we should burden share, and then the bonus will be the savings that will come out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, so that's the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Well, there's a lot of reaction already coming through, especially from the minority in Parliament, which is raising some concerns about the attempt of government to reintroduce the deal. Joining us now is one of the members of the legal teams and also ranking on the Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament, Roxanne Nelson Dapiamakpo. Thank you, sir, for joining us. So why is the minority still having concerns with this deal, particularly when government is giving indications that there may be some reforms to the earlier concerns that you raised?
Now, thank you very much. Let me also correct that I'm not the ranking of constitutional legal, I'm just a member.
Right.
But first of all, what is the nature of reform of the Agyapa deal that they want to return to Parliament? Our concerns has been that it is not economically prudent for a government to take our mineral royalties that's raking nearly $200 million every year, to collateralize that for 15 years, and in return get 500 million from the stock exchange in London. It doesn't make sense. If the regular inflow of revenue for every year can give us $200 million, there's a lot that we can do with that as a country. And so for 15 years, 200 million times 15, that is $30 million. Hello?
I'm with you, sir.
200 million times 15 years. That comes to about how much? That comes to about $33 billion. We can do a lot with that as a country. Instead of taking 500 million at a time. That's their concern. It doesn't make any economic sense for government to insist on pushing this bill down our throat.
But I guess the point is we have an opportunity to make the deal better. I'm not sure the minority is entirely against the idea of making...
You listen to him. Listen to him.
Right.
This is a minister who kept saying we are in difficult times. Ask him who created the difficulties. He has come to create the difficulties. We expected that he will introduce austerity measures. He's not cutting down expenditure. He announced in February that he will cut down expenditure by 20%. As we speak, he's not giving an indication as to which aspects of the 2022 expenditure line is being cut. He has not reduced the size of his government. So if they keep telling us that we should tighten our belt, we need more revenue, and yet the government is not slowing down in terms of expenditure, then it's difficult for us to support them. In any case, it's not spoken about the reforms that they intend to introduce in the Agyapa deal. We are completely against Agyapa, whether reformed or not. That's the position of the minority.
But I guess you're not against the idea of trying to get more from our mineral royalties. That idea in itself is good, and I guess that's why government says they'll be engaging further.
It's not getting more from the mineral royalties are nearly constant. The calculation is that for every year we get nearly $200 million. That's the calculation. And for having calculated that, they now want to collateralize it and get about $500 million from the stock exchange. How does that make economic sense? And they want to do that for 15 years. Tell me if that makes sense to you. You may not be an economist, you are a journalist, but tell me if that makes economic sense to you. It doesn't. And it is a central structure of the deal that I don't think they will want to amend.
So if that's the point you're making, what then is the minority's alternative to all of this?
That Agyapa is not a good deal. That pursuant to the minerals investment fund, we get regular inflow of nearly $200 million. The government should be able to plan with that $200 million and work with it and get it every year.
So what you mean to say is that regardless of the changes, no matter how good it may be, you will not support the name. Is it about the name really?
Hello?
Yes, I'm asking if there are challenges with the name or the idea, because I guess you're not necessarily
it's not about
against
the name
the idea
at all. It's not about the name. It's about the content of the deal. And the content of the central content of the deal is to the effect that they want to collateralize the mineral investment inflows, the royalties that come in.
But I guess that's why government is now perhaps listening to your feedback and is saying we need to change some things. Why not make the input as to what it is that needs to change?
So, but they're making a declaration.
Yeah, but they're giving indications that engagement will happen.
You know, you have to engage before you declare. You don't declare before you engage. So if you go ahead to declare that you are reintroducing Agyapa, then what are we getting engaged on? Practically nothing. You have to engage for us to agree on the terms before you introduce.
Right, and for some people, this is where we're likely to head into another deadlock in Parliament with sharp divisions on this matter of just making much more out of our mineral royalties. Is that to suggest that...
It tells you that the government is not learning from its mistakes. That's what it tells you. That's what it should tell you.
So how about consensus on this matter?
We are not building, we've declared that we are not building consensus on Agyapa. We will not. Because we are vehemently opposed to the structure of the agreement. We don't want our mineral royalties collateralized, not in any form. But from the announcement, government is insisting on doing exactly that. And that's the problem of the minority on the matter.
All right, then. We'll have to leave it here. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Roxon Nelson Dafiamakpo sharing his thoughts with us. We understand that the coalition against the citizen movement against corruption is also having some issues with that, as and when we have them would also get their concerns on this matter. But Ghanaians will get used to paying the electronic transactions levy. That's according to the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, who also has spoken on the revenue measure for the very first time since its introduction on May 1 this year. The government is seeking to rake in some 4.5 billion cedis after revising the policy rate from some 1.75% to 1.5%. For days now, some persons actually have raised concerns about wrongful deductions and other challenges. However, commenting on the matter, the Finance Minister says the challenges will be resolved. He added that Ghanaians will get used to the policy measure.
We announced the budget, I guess, November 17th or so, and it wasn't until that miracle day of March 29th that we got through Parliament with that. I'm very confident that it opens a whole new vista for our tax handles in a way in which all Ghanaians would also be paying something. I don't know of any program which has technology involved that will not have teething problems. But certainly the cataclysmic, pronouncement by people on the other side is not happening. I think we pretty much have it under control as much as you can. We started on May 1st. We were blessed with that being a period of a holiday for 3-4 days. So we saw the issues and began to tackle them. Will there continue to be certain technical issues? There will be, but certainly not the Armageddon that was pronounced for us. I think we are a country moving really forward. You've discovered a tax handle which does two things. One, from 78 billion cedis of mobile money transfers to maybe almost 1 trillion last year. And therefore, you begin to see how e-commerce and technology becomes effective. And that will be good for the country. And then secondly, of course, the sense of unfairness that some 2.4 million people are paying because they're in the formal sector and nobody else is paying, bringing everybody else on board, as small as it will be. But we also were clear on the issue of regressive taxes, which says that you don't tax the poor. And so the first 100 cedis was not being levied, and that is about 3,000 cedis a month in effect. We know our salaries are not that high. So truly, most of those that people advocate as regressive taxes are not affected at all. And if you have 200 cedis, I'm sure you can do it in 2 days, and therefore there will be a zero impact. So we are truly excited about this new tax handle to look at issues of curing, auction failures, increasing our revenue mobilization, getting technology, and gradually moving into an economy in which really, people just don't use cash because it's much easier to continue with technology. So I think it's an exciting period to having a structural solution to revenue mobilization in a way that we haven't had before. We are also, I guess, starting with the property taxes as a pilot to begin. And we'll be a nation in which we can easily double our revenue to GDP ratios from the 13-14%, to double that. So a pretty good time, but nobody likes to pay taxes, so it's always difficult. But I think we all begin to get used to it as we apply the use of the taxes for the citizenry to see. We should be launching the U-Start program, the 10 billion CD historic program, starting in June, and we'll be able to see immediately the deployment of those resources, to this teeming mass of some 11 million youth to get enterprise, employment, support for the youth, so that we become the entrepreneurial nation.
Well, let's speak to the PRFO, the Mobile Money Merchants Association, Charles Addo, who's joining us now. Charles, so you heard the finance minister there. Obviously, he says that would soon get used to this revenue measure by government. You raised a contrary concern when you met the president. What do you think about this latest announcement from the minister? Charles, you'd have to unmute so we can hear you.
Thank you, Kofi, and thanks for it. I think we made it clear to the President of the Republic that there are challenges that our agents are facing out there, and therefore those challenges, until they are addressed, will never help in the mobilization of those revenue. That the finance minister is saying that, and is getting into it. So until that is done, I think that if we can keep saying those words, but the grounds are no good. A lot of agents are losing their funds when they do pull in and pull out to the banks. And therefore, we were promised that those issues will be addressed. As I speak to you now, agents are still complaining. So I think that government should take steps to address those challenges that we level against them when we met with the President of the Republic. So much attention has to be paid to those anomalies that we are going through. And I think if that is done, it will help liaise the agent body and the government to get his targeted revenue.
But could it not be the case that these are early days yet, and that some of these troubles or challenges with the system is very much expected?
Yes, definitely yes. We were made to understand that come 1st of July, those challenges will be solved. And as I sit here and I speak to you, agents every day in and day out are sending money to their bank, and therefore they are being debited. And ask yourself, how much are they using to operate? So I think that we were made to understand that certain reversal methodology will be given out. And those things must be addressed as soon as possible, as we were made, or we are assured that it will be rectified. These are the most essential aspects. Secondly, I also think that the education has to go well. You know, Ghanaians misunderstood the agent body by saying that we have supported the E-levy 100%. And I want to use this great medium to say that we never supported the E-levy. What we were at the Flaster House to report was the challenges after the implementation, 11 days on. As a national council, we made it clear to the president that there's a gap. The communication gap has created a lot of disparity for the agent. And therefore, as agent body, we will help through the education so that we'll be able to meet the needs of the customer. And in so doing, maximize our commissions and profits. So we supported the president on the channels of education, not necessarily supporting E-levy. E-levy is already a law, and it is not the agent body who is going to restrict or go against the law. Ours is that we are businessmen, and whatever that we will do in a small way to make sure we maximize profit is what we went there to do. Not necessarily.
And Charles, I'm interested even in the engagement between your group, leadership of your group, and the president. What assurances did you get, or perhaps what are some of the fallouts from that engagement?
Thank you. Kofi, it will interest you to know that we're privileged to have in the meeting the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Communication, Honorable Esla, and the Chief of Staff, including the Second Deputy of the Ghana Revenue Authority. All those challenges that we leveled against the government with concern or with regards to the E-levy, the President of the Republic directly directed them to make sure that those needs are met so that we will have a very fruitful implementation. Secondly, the President also promised us with regards to security, because agents across the country are being killed, are being hunted day in and day out with acid bath and the rest. And therefore, the President stated emphatically that as the father of the land, he will make sure security is assured, and security also is a shared responsibility. So he even requested that the IGP meet us so that we put out modalities or guidelines in order to safeguard the treasury of the agent.
You were also earlier investigating what accounted for a huge drop or panic withdrawal, as you're terming it, during the early days of the rollout of the policy. Have you ended that inquiry, and what is that pointing to? Could it be linked to the E-levy itself?
We earlier stated that 11 days after the implementation of E-levy, that is where we came to realize that it was a communication gap. People were being misinformed. People just come out to the agent stand and come to withdraw. When you ask them, they are there telling you that they've heard that when your money is even in your account without you touching it, government will debit that E-levy. It will also interest Ghanaians to know that there are people who will just walk into your stand and just tell you that withdraw the money, let me just go and put it in the house without any reason. So we realized that the education was not going on well. Even though government had tried his best was not enough. People don't understand the levy. And interestingly, there's also a new charge table that Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance gave us. And even if we want to send 5,000 now, it has come to our realization that you will only be charged on 4,900. The cap that government gave with regards to the 100 Ghana cedi rate will be debited from the principal amount before the E-levy 1.5 will be charged on the left amount. So if you want to send 200 Ghana cedi, it will interest you to know that now only 100 Ghana cedi will be charged with 1.5 with regards to E-levy. So these are all new anomalies. And if we are not meet with the major stakeholders and governments for that matter, how would we be able to ascertain or get to know all this?
So are you then suggesting that the trend is changing 11 days after the rollout of the policy?
Definitely yes. Slow, at a slow pace, because the agents have taken the onus upon themselves to educate every customer that walks into their stand. And we are hoping and praying that if government support the agent body to sanitize the general public, I think we'll be able to have a surge on.
And then the issue about the merchants' charges, have you been able to resolve that issue with government?
Equally, yes. The minister for that sector promised us that we will still further engage those appropriate authorities and will get back to us. The last thing that I want to talk, that fallout from the meeting with the president, was with regards to the cash-in commission since 2009, the introduction of mobile money. Agents are being paid 1% on the cash-in commission for 13 years now, and we were able to channel that plea to the President of the Republic, for which he instructed the Minister for Communication to take that matter up so that we can have a review with regards to the 1% commission on our cash in. So these are the fallout.
Right. And so if there's something government needs to do now, what should be that priority from your business perspective?
One, government should make funds available to the agent body for which he instructed the finance minister. I thought even through this briefing he will mention it, but I don't know whether they are working around the clock to get to us. Two, government should also make sure that there is a review to the electronic levy, because most Ghanaians, even though are paying, most of them still have the perception that the rate is so high. And therefore, if government wants to get more revenue or rake in more revenue, I think we can even review it to probably say 1%. And therefore, it will convince more people to patronize in that sector of ours.
Anyway, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you so much, Charles Kwesi-Addo, spokesperson for the Mobile Money Merchants Association of Ghana. Well, let's talk security now. The National Security Ministry has withdrawn all of its men stationed at the Tema Harbour. The ministry says it is reassigning these officials to address the threat of terrorism and violent extremism as the canker begins to surge across West Africa. JoyNews is learning that this directive took effect on May 3, 2020, following an official notice by the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapa. So let's bring you a breakdown of the reasons being given by the National Security Ministry on this matter. It first of all talks about the fact that there is a need to withdraw all of its operatives from the Tema Harbour effective 3rd of May 2022. Now, the decision, first of all, is in response to calls by the economic management team for the rationalization of the number of security agencies involved in physical inspection at the ports, given the ongoing operations by the Joint Port Control Unit and the Revenue Assurance Compliance and Enforcement Team. Then it goes ahead to talk about the fact that the withdrawal also forms part of efforts by the Ministry of National Security to enhance ongoing operations towards addressing the threats of violent extremism in view of the surge in activities of the same littoral West African states. Then we also do know that notwithstanding all of these directives, including the withdrawal of personnel from the Tema Harbour, the Ministry of National Security shall provide the needed assistance to the relevant state agencies in the conduct of surgical operations at the Tema Harbour when required. So that's the clear indications and justifications being given by the National Security Ministry in terms of withdrawing all of its personnel from the Tema Harbour. But why take a decision on such a critical state infrastructure in such a manner? Joining us to help look at the implications of this is Dr. Adam Bona. He's a security expert, helping us to understand what's happening at this point. So first of all, Dr. Bona, is this a good initiative by the National Security Ministry?
Blessed, if it is me, this is Richard Kumado.
Right.
It's
So,
not
Mr. Kumado, thank you. I was just trying to find out if this is a good initiative by the National Security Ministry.
Definitely. It depends on the level of the threat and the nature of the threat and the direction it's coming from. Normally, when it comes to security risk assessment and mitigating a particular threat, the type and caliber of officers you needed is very important. Their deployment in what we call security positioning is also very important. But you raise a critical question, why should we remove national security operatives from Tema Harbor? If in the wisdom of the ministry, they realize that they are being redundant and their services will be needed elsewhere, I think we can grant them that. But comparing what they have done at Tema Harbor, I think they've created a little bit of a mess for themselves. And in disguise of removing them, this particular communique will go a long way to see where they will be deployed and whether really their expertise will be needed in terms of fighting the issue of terrorism.
But you know that the port as well is a critical infrastructure. I mean, this is a place which could even be a subject of terrorist attacks. So why then take such a decision?
Definitely. That is what is raising many questions. I don't see the reason they give in line with taking them out. I think that many of the boys they place at the Tema Harbor have no expertise at all in handling that place. And we are talking about border control. We are talking about border security management, for which the port is one critical infrastructure. And if they have the needed expertise, I don't think they will take them there. I think they are taking them under the guise of the mess they have created there. Many complaints against them. Attitude and expertise in doing particular job has become a questionable one. And I think they are taking them there with this particular disguise of a letter. My reasoning or my checks would have confirmed that we will not need the guys at Tema Harbor to fight terrorism. We have the terrorism group in the police. We have them in the military, in customs and immigration, who are quick and they are well equipped to fight any threat of terrorism. And taking them out of harbor might be that they are calling them back to base or redeploy them onto some other places, but not necessary to fight terrorism.
Are you then saying that basically the reasons we're getting from the National Security Ministry may not entirely be the case, and that there's more to what the reassignments that we're seeing? Definitely,
because if the port is an entry point, you needed to guide your entry point. And if these guys are the first respondents, then you wouldn't take them out of the place unless they don't have the expertise and the critical infrastructure they needed to be effective. And I think that the soldiers, the police, the immigration, and customs are well placed to do the job at Tema Harbor. And not just Tema Harbor, but many of our ports. And taking these guys out of Tema Harbor is just to save face, to say that they've created a bit of a mess, and they might be going back for retraining, or they might be redeploying to some other place, but not necessarily as a first line of action to fight the threat of terrorism.
But then there are claims also that some of these officials may have been involved in other activities which compromises their integrity, and perhaps that's why the ministry is taking such an action.
Exactly, but they can't say that, because if they should say that, they will come under fire. So they needed to create a decoy. And I think the statement in the letter is a clear decoy of why they are taking their men from there. In the first place, they don't need to be deployed to the Tema Harbor. I've always hold a view that national security is a policy institution, and you don't need operational team there. And ever since they started establishing operational units at national security, it has been one hell of a time for another. The disgrace and the shame of which has brought to national security is clear for everybody to see. It is time we readdress the issue of operational team at national security. Let national security be a coordinated center where high brains are needed for policy formulation and assimilation. And let the field work guys go to the field and do a good job.
Interesting point you're raising there. Thank you so much, Richard Kumado, for making that point.
Thank you.
Dr. Adam Bona is also a security analyst, is joining us now. Doc, so you're also joining at a time where we've seen the reasons that the National Security Ministry is giving as a reason for which it is reassigning its personnel from the Tema Harbor. Do you agree with them, particularly when they say we need to reassign our men to the ongoing efforts to tackle violent extremism?
Well, yes. I think, good afternoon. I think I heard my colleague Richard on the other side. I agree. I have maintained that the operatives, largely operatives of the national security who are sent to most of these facilities, they go there most often for their own selfish interests. If you ask me from where I sit and from my encounter with them, even if you leave this country and you return, let's say you were in the US or Britain or wherever, and you return and you go through immigration control and you are exiting, you'll see them telling you I'm national security, literally just trying to beg money from you. And so if you ask me, I would say that if we have to reassign personnel to that place, let's say the ports, I would put it in general, the ports. Let's assign the best of the best, at the ports. But when we assign people who are largely associated with, the political party or a political party, they come in because they are supposed to be somebody's boys. And so they go there, and some of them, not all of them, engage in extortion, bribery, and engaging in what they are not supposed to be doing. They rather do vice, what they are supposed to be doing. They do the reverse of what they are supposed to be doing, if you ask me, Blessed.
So what I'm getting from you both, the experts, is that you are highly doubtful that indeed these persons are being reassigned to help in the fight against terrorism.
No, I don't think so. Most of these people, what is even their level of training? If they were to submit a list of, these security operatives and you went through, you would realize that most of them are not even cut for the job they've been sent to go and do. So the job they are purporting to be doing as national security operatives, what level of training do they have? So I don't want to believe that is the reason. But there has been hue and cry over bribery and corruption, extortion. Some of them, largely have been engaged in, stealing, daylight robbery, where you have containers that are getting missing left and right, go to the state warehouse. There are so many things that one cannot talk about. And so I think that the decision to withdraw them, it doesn't matter wherever they are taking them to. It's a welcome news. If they are going to reassign security operatives, i.e. national security operatives, let's assign career national security operatives. But when you assign non-career national security operatives who have no clue what intelligence gathering is, what a national security officer should be doing, you post them to search, a security zone or a sensitive location, you are opening the country up for, for a lot of the bad things we have seen.
And that's exactly the concern from my point. The fact that since May 3, we haven't had any redeployment of national security personnel, I'm not too sure of the facts, to such a sensitive critical infrastructure such as the Tema Harbor. That could be dangerous to us as a state, isn't it?
I don't think it is dangerous. Remember, we have, immigration personnel are there. Okay. The customs guys are there. We have the preventive and those who are in charge of revenue, they are there. And all of them have their own wing of, intelligence officers who are trained. And I say these personnel most often are answerable to the states. When you see a police officer, it doesn't matter how bad a police officer is. That police officer, you will say 30% of the time will be answerable to the state. But when you have some of these national security operatives who, even though you came in from, the political party, something, you are supposed to be more answerable to the state. It is rather the other way around, where He's been put there by a certain party executive, some party something. And so he doesn't respect anybody. The port master, they don't respect anybody. They do as they want. Sometimes you clear your goods. And once the goods have left the port, you've gone through all the checks. You're on the motorway. They will follow you with motorbikes and stop you and purport to want to now check your things. And they do all that just to extort money from you. You don't want any delay. And so mine is that whoever I know that the Minister of National Security is trying to revamp and, reset the national security as a ministry or secretariat, which I think is welcome. They should go on that way so they can purge themselves of all the rot we've seen in the past. If they continue this way, then we would now begin to see a national security that is fit for purpose. But what we have seen largely has been people who are bonded together, and most of them, as I speak, are paid on the table. They don't have even their names on the national payroll. They don't have their names there. They are paid on table. If you pay people on table or under the table, what happens is that what you give them to do, they might not do it that way. And so mine is that once all these things are going, those two are good enough. Recruit them, make them career, national security professionals. My colleague Richard on the other, I don't know whether he's still there. Largely did some work with the then BNI. And so mine is that there are people who would swear the oath and say, I'll protect, the integrity of this country. But most of these people go, if you've ever imported something, ask 10 importers in this country. Ask people who are, coming through our, Kotoka. And sometimes you have harassment, pure harassment from some operatives of this national security. And sometimes even challenging immigration and custom officials who are done with their work. But because some of these, I won't say all of them, some of these national security executives feel emboldened because whoever is bringing them there is some powerful person. And therefore they can do as they want and nobody will ask them a question. These have gone a long way to damage the reputation of this country. It doesn't matter how hard the president or the national security minister, the interior, defense and co are doing. If these guys are not probably trained well and reassigned well, we are going to be running around in circles.
And I'm grateful that you've been able to join us with your perspectives on this, Dr. Adam Bona. Thank you for your time. Well, we understand that the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, they are welcoming the news. They're indicating that they support the decision by the National Security Ministry to withdraw all of its personnel from the Tema Harbour. The group argues this latest directive will put an end to what they describe as the harassment of the business community. Well, Samson Asaki Awingobit is the executive secretary for the group. He will help us understand what exactly the group means by that. Samson, it's good to see you this afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse.
Thank you very much.
And you say that you're being harassed by some of these officials and that by withdrawing all of this personnel, that will be the end to the story.
Well, thank you very much. Before I address your question,
right.
You know that I am in red, and I'm in black. I'm mourning because I'm from Boku. And we have lost an illustrious son from our part of the country. So Honorable John Ndibugri, in his blessed memory. Right. We happen to come from one district, one constituency, right. And it's a big loss to us. And so we are still mourning. And that's why you see me in this path.
Our thoughts are we're definitely with you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, back to the question. It is true. Just to add to what my friend Adam Bona have said,
right.
I strongly believe that if you go to the national security setup, there is a proper, purely professional national securities. You will not know them. You probably be sleeping with them, so you will not know that you are sleeping with the national security. Elsewhere, and even in Ghana here, we still have professional national security. It can be your next neighbor, you wouldn't know the work that he's doing. But what we are seeing, what we have been experiencing in our ports and in this country, a national security will not just come and tell that I am the national security. The way and manner the national security will behave, that's not how they are behaving at the port there. And so the withdrawal of this party foot soldier, I call them party foot soldiers who are hungry, and the party, after coming in power, don't know where to put them and say, go to the port there. And when they get there, they are aim and objective, and their mindset is, I'm going to make wealth.
But the question is, have you reported some of these cases to perhaps the Ghana Police Service or even the National Security Ministry or even the ports authorities?
Talking about police service,
right?
The National Security those guys are more powerful than the police.
No, but the point is that at least
they
may
can
have
harass a uniform person and tell them our party is in government. What are you talking about? You heard what Adam Bona said. Adam Bona is a security research analyst in this country. The gentleman I spoke to, I'm told he was working with BNI before, and he's a consultant now. All what they are saying is leading to what I'm telling you. These guys in the port there does not show respect to anybody. Even I'm quite sure if the Director General even come, they can tell them you are not the one who brought us here. Even if the sector commander come, they can tell him that you are not the one who to tell them what to do. But the authority, based on law, Ghana law, to assess someone who brings goods from outside the country, to assess it, go through valuation and classification, come out with the values for an importer to pay for duty, is custom, worldwide, globally. However, in the port there, we have custom themselves as security, we have custom preventive, and I told you we have post-surveillance department from the custom, that even if I something, Asake goes there to clear my cargo today, and did not pay or did not declare the right quantities and pay the rightful duty to the state, 6 months, 1 year down the lane, that arm in custom can come to you and say, we are coming to do post-auditing. And then they will find you to pay additional duty to the state, and even with penalty. Quite apart from that, before one is left to go out of the last gate at the port, we have what we call custom preventive. Now, the agent will do the entry, it will go to custom classification and valuation department at custom head office, values will come, you will go and pay the duty, you proceed to report the terminal where the container is sitting. There's also custom officer there who will come to do what we call fiscal examination. So they will open the container. So if Asake happen to bring this mobile phone, right, it's about maybe 2,000 pieces in it, and I declare 1,005. If the cost, that officer will come with, that's why they only come with the book and red pen. To calculate, they take unitization, they'll count it one by one, get the total quantity. So if they realize that on the BOE, the document that I'm bringing from customs claim that I paid duty and I'm coming to take the cargo, I've only declared 1,005. Then they will charge you the difference that we don't call short collection. And based on just collection, meaning you have what you drop, you have not told the state officer the truth. So instead of 2,000, you declare 1,005. Then they will assess you that duty on the difference and charge you with penalty unit. Then you pay. When you pay finish and you are exiting, the preventive will then look at whether that officer at the field which assess you to see that truly what you paid is true and you are going out. Will also look at through their system and say you have done the right thing. If you haven't done the right thing, they will mark you back. Quite apart from that, we also have what we call joint team to do examination. So if you read the letter, you see that joint team. Yeah. The joint team is made up of the custom officials. We may need Food and Drugs Authority officers, probably Standards Authority officials, custom themselves, and the BNI, and NACOP. Mm-hmm. So if the gentleman is talking about maybe if we leave a port, if the national security withdraw, and we leave a port in danger right. Of what? In the night, you have the Navy controlling the waters. In the evening and in the night as well, we have the Marine Police. The police service has an arm or a unit called Marine Police. While the navies are there, the Marine Police are there, the GPOJ has their own security. Besides that, the port is controlled by custom. It's a security zone. And there are military in the night as well at the port. So what are they talking about?
So the addition of the national security personnel is a waste of time, you believe?
It's a waste of time. And in everywhere, national securities are not in thousands. It is intelligence job. You don't need to be there in person to know what is happening. That's why the man talk about getting a professional, trained, well-vested person with intelligence. And then when we go to other jurisdictions, they pick these ex-police officers, they pick ex-military officers, they pick intelligent officers. So even if you go to national security setup now, if those who are working at the port or at our border with these party soldiers, sometimes they push the professional self Because so if you meet some of the professionals, it's, hey, in permanent you are transfer me. So we use party in this country to destroy our. We have one of the best national security architecture in this country, but because of politics, and it's, when they talk of politics, it's only MPP, NDC. They support the country. They are the two parties. They are spoiling this country.
So for the importers and exporters, as we wrap up on this conversation, what or how do you feel that we could improve the inspection unit there at the harbor? I guess that's part of the state.
I even said so. But even if, look, let's ask yourself. If Samson Asake clear my cargo from the port and I'm taking it to my warehouse and the national security stop the truck on the motorway and say, drive to Blue Gate, they are going to reassess you. One question is, do you have the technical competence to do that? Are you going to take it there and now ask the custom officer that you don't trust to come and now do a reassessment? Yes, that's what is going to happen. So I said, why do we have them there? Because lack of trust. I proposed something somewhere. If you go to Nigeria, our counterpart, if they bring this LED TV, 2,000 pieces in the container, all what Nigerian authority knows is that it is 4,000 naira or it is 40,000 naira. So whether you bring in 40-footer container, whether it's a 10,000 pieces inside, whether you brought it in 20-footer container, all what I know is a 20-footer container, this is the money. 40-footer container, this is the money. That alone will even reduce the corruption that we are talking about. The corruption in the port is not only about national security alone. Because sometimes if there is this sort collection, and officers say, okay, if you don't do something, then I will penalize you.
All right.
And that happens every day. So I even propose, if the government actually, if the finance minister actually want to make the needed revenue that the state is looking for, then let's learn what is happening in Nigeria. Are they getting the numbers? Are they getting the figures? Yes. Okay. So that it will stop this corruption. So everyone knows, okay, 20-footer container you bought with watches, it is $10,000 or 10,000 Ghana cedis, pay. I know that if I get to, it is frozen food, I'm bringing it, it's in the 40-footer container. It is 80,000 I'm going to pay in Ghana. When I get there, you pay. Then there will be transparency. But what is happening? Maybe after the national security, we'll touch the custom as well. Because there's also corruption there.
Right. And I'm sure that the conversation will definitely continue. I'm so grateful that you've been able to join us. That's.
I think I told you I wanted to have an appeal.
Yes. So, okay, let's do that briefly.
Yes, I think.
Just in just a minute.
Yes,
so
I think I told you that I'm from Boku.
Right.
And what we heard from the 2-3 days or this week about what is happening with the killing of our brothers and sisters in Boku, I, Samson Asake, I am calling on the top hierarchy of Mampusi community in Boku. Just as I'm also calling our brothers, our side, I'm a Kusasima, right, that we, those who are here, we are educated. Our wives and our children are sleeping as and when they want to sleep.
Right. Go
out to do business as and when that they want to do.
Okay.
But our families who are in Boku cannot see by now they should be entering. Then they wake up 6
So you want peace?
They are building. We want peace.
Right.
Let us live united. And what does that mean? I'm a Kusasi man. I'm in Accra. I see my man. Like my me, Salfo, and Ade or Irimia. We greet each other, and when we get back to Boku, there is a different thing.
So peace is all.
We need peace now in Boku.
All right. And I'm grateful. That's Samson Asake Awingo, Executive Secretary for the Importers and Exporters Association, joining us here. We'll return shortly after this break. Please stay. And you're welcome back. Now, gas for electricity generation from the Jubilee fields will no longer be free by the end of the year. Ghana, under the Eswakufo government, negotiated this free gas arrangement with Tallow Oil. Now, gas is cheaper than crude when used for generation, but free gas from Jubilee had always been preferred due to the impact on pricing. Well, at the presentation on the proposed tariffs with PRC, GNPC indicated that they had considered this development in their computation for gas prices.
Some key assumptions from GNPC. The first one is that Jubilee Foundation volume, which we have enjoyed over the years as free gas, is coming to an end. Towards the end of this year, we expect that to come to an end, and we will then begin to be paying the full price for Jubilee. The good thing is that it will still be cheaper, but it will not be the cheapest. Particularly, it will be more expensive than 10. And the one thing to note about it also is that we have not yet concluded the negotiations on the price for that. This is still ongoing, and we have used some proxy for now for the purpose of this exercise, and we will come back to PURC once we conclude the negotiations. The second principle is that we have always, since 2017 or 2019, we've assumed that a GMPC share of all the gas that we have, as well as the royalty share, are free. We don't price that. And that was a key component of the tariff determination for 2019.
Well, so what options are left for Ghana to explore? Well, Kwame Janta of the Civil Society Platform on Oil and Gas says government's renegotiation skills and its ability to ensure a stable CDN inflation rate will determine whether the cost of production will go up or not.
The Jubilee partners have indicated that there are certain costs that they would incur. So they cannot continue with the free gas. However, they are prepared to negotiate a certain amount. And from what I understand, it's, I think, between 10 and 50 cents for the gas. Now, you would then ask the question, if that ownership of the gas is now in the hands of the Jubilee partners, can the Jubilee partners decide that we would want to use the gas for some alternative endeavor? The petroleum agreement so far they have with Ghana does not allow the partners to use the gas for any other thing. Example, if they wanted to turn it into LNG, they don't have that authority. The petroleum agreement does not allow them to do that. And so, based on that, it looks as if GMPC can negotiate a much lower rate, then the impact on Ghanaians would not be felt that much, or it will be negligible.
Well, so how do we deal with this? Joining me now is Peter Tekpe, a policy analyst. Peter, so there we have it. What should be the option for the GNPC?
Well, it's a major challenge, but I think that where we are heading towards, cost is one key factor, and also sustainability, in order to ensure that there is continuity. And so, of course, we have to look at which option will give us maximum value. I mean, where we can maximize our returns as well. And so that is the option that we will explore. So at the point we are now, everybody is looking at what alternative sources are available in getting the best out of what it can generate from it. So the situation at hand now calls for us to look at all the alternatives that are available, and that is what GNPC is looking out for. And so it is that every country is looking at alternative source of generating power, and I think that especially the world situation that we are facing in terms of energy crisis. And so what can give us continuous supply is what we have to look out for, especially at a price that is moderate, that will not affect the citizens as well.
But the point is, what's going to be the impact on the industry, the energy sector as a whole?
Well, the impact on the energy sector as a whole is that, you know, when there's short of gas supply, it's going to have huge impact in power generation. Already we are impacted by that in Ghana, where the IPPs are indebted, and as a result, the power generation is becoming a challenge for the country. And so if this is going to happen, then we're going to worsen the situation for Ghana, and we wouldn't like to get to that level again. And so it's a cause for concern. It's a cause for concern. It's going to impact businesses further, and Ghana wouldn't like to go into that days again at all.
And so you've also been monitoring even the discussions on the tariffs and the proposals we are getting from all of the utility companies. Feeding that into what's happening now, what do you predict will happen, or perhaps maybe the option for PERC going forward?
You know, the PRC, in fact, the situation we find ourselves now is in a very tight corner. You know, there is a legacy problem. This is not something that has come up as a result of today. And the energy sector has been suffering for a very long time, especially our utility providers, especially UCG and then Ghana Water. They have been faced with major challenges. You know, all over the years when budgets are set, you don't see any budget allocated to pay bills, especially state institutions. And that is mostly what has brought us to this level, talking about the gaps and the wastage in the system. And so it's a major call for concern. And what this requires is that we should then be looking at alternative source of energy, such that it will reduce this huge cost on the government, especially state institutions, so that if the state institutions are not able to make payment to the utility organization, then should they be looking at solar, so that then they don't spend money they don't have to incur debt that is affecting this utility company, because they are the biggest offenders when it comes to defaulters in this utility bill payment. So we should be looking at maybe rolling them out of the pool and giving them solar, and maybe that will solve one of the major problems that we are facing now.
But eventually, we'll definitely pay more.
Of course, because if you look at what they are saying, this is even to break even. So if this is even to break even, and to be able to manage their production cost, then it means that this 148, this percentage they are even asking for is even less. But the issue is that, look, even if they increase it by 500%, we will still come back to this equation. Why? Because the users are not paying. So if the biggest users are not paying, then what do? Then you look at alternative way of taking these users out of the pool, which is most of the time the state institution. Why are we not looking at solar? So that we take them out of the main grid, so that it will free space for the utility companies to also be able to deal with their efficiency well. You know, it's something that government deliberately needs to look at it, because this debt is government debt, and government debt is the people's debt. So what do we do? For how long are we going to be paying this debt? They will always come to us and say, let us pay. And if you increase it as many times, you will still come back to this level. So what should we do? Let's look at alternative long-term solution and solve it. So that we say all state institutions should be using solar, and that will solve the problem.
Anyway, we'll have to leave it here. Peter Tekpe, he is a public policy analyst. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, management of Marco Fast Food says it is conducting an investigation to ascertain the cause of the alleged food poisoning in its outfits. Now, according to the PRO, Mohammed Amin Lanti, the company has been footing the medical bills of some of the affected customers who have been complaining to them after eating their food of some food poisoning. Now, JoyNews' Samuel Kojo Brace was at one of the branches of Marco Fast Food and comes through with this report.
Down just a while ago. This is the frontage of the restaurant here at East Legon. This is the inside of the restaurant. As you can see, the FDA staff are still picking samples from the restaurant for testing. They've taken some samples of food items and water available here. They explain that these are for examination, for them to understand what exactly is happening. So the Municipal Health Directorate has some staff here. This is the inside of the restaurant. There are personnel from FDA who are still picking samples from the Marco restaurant here at East Legon. So as you can see in your shot, these are officers of the FDA and the Municipal Health Directorate here at IAS West who are picking samples from the Marco restaurant. Let's try and get some thought from the manager here at the facility. He is still here with the Municipal Health Director. Chief, we spoke to you a while ago. Within some few minutes, we heard that your facility has been locked. As we were speaking, all the thinking was that it's not possible that you're going to be shut down. What happened?
No, in fact, for me, I think that it's coming from the FDA. They have the decision. They have the wherewithal to understand that based on their investigation, they want to close down the branches. You know, earlier, the information I gathered indicates that the information I gathered indicates that they are closing all the branches, all the 4 branches that we have. And we communicated with our staff at all the branches. They've closed down the branches, but later on, I was told that it's only here and then the main headquarters at Abelinkwe. But I think that this is really sad, because I would have wished that we'll deal with the isolated case of the East Legon branch, so that the investigation will continue at any given time when everything is done, and then we can bounce back.
Thank you very much. Let me get thoughts from the Municipal Health Director here. Doc, what has changed from early in the morning when we spoke?
So in the morning when you were coming in, we were working in when you spoke with us. So we had also mentioned to you that we were coming in to start the initial facts finding. So, I mean, these things are teamwork. You don't do it alone. So, I mean, all bodies that regulate these things and protect the health of people came together, including the FDA. And then, the decision has been made that it's more prudent to temporarily shut down and allow the investigation to go on properly, and then the decision made to reopen when it's feasible.
Do we know how long this is going to last, the shutdown?
I wouldn't be able to say. It depends on the investigations and how quickly. As you can see, we are here doing what we must do, collecting the samples and all that. So as long as we have results, and we can advise.
Thank you very much. So that's Dr. Louisa Mate, who is the Municipal Health Director for IASO West. The FDA staff are here. I've just seen them trying to pick their eye shots. Like I showed you earlier, they've picked samples from the restaurant and are in there. Just as you are seeing in your shot, just the staff of the restaurant who are here. There is no customer within the restaurant who wants to buy something. Outside as well, it's empty, but you can see when you come outside, you can see the motor riders who are standing by to see if anything could change for them to keep supplying their food. Shortly it will be in your shot for you to understand what I am talking about. So that there you have it, the riders here who had come here to see what they could have to supply to their customers. So as we speak, it's a place that is empty in a sense. Customers aren't coming by, but there's a staff from the FDA. Let's try to get the understanding. How long would this shutdown last?
I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but the investigation is still ongoing, so we'll let you know what happens next.
So can you just give us a brief? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I don't have a locus to speak, so maybe.
All right, so that's it.
Well, Samuel Kujo Brace there. Now, after 3 weeks, members of the striking Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOGSAG, are expected to return to post. The industrial action was occasioned by the failure of government to pay the agreed neutrality allowance. Addressing a news conference earlier today, leadership of the association says they have received confirmation that the unpaid allowances will be paid. Here is the Executive Secretary of the association, Bampo Ado.
At its meeting held on Thursday, 12 May 2022, the National Executive Council of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana, CLOGSAG, decided to call off the nationwide strike by its members. The rationale to step down the industrial action was based on the fact that the demand for the Ministry of Finance to direct the Comptroller and Accountant General to effect payment of the agreed allowance has been met on 11th May 2022. By this decision, the strike has been called off. All CLOGSAG members should report back to work by Monday, 16th May 2022. We take this opportunity to appreciate the resilience and the commitment of all our members during this period. It portrays the sordid conditions under which our members have endured all these years. This brings home the fact that the conditions of service being enjoyed now have not been achieved on a silver platter. Long live Ghana, long live worker solidarity, long live CLOGSAG.
And a businessman, Alhaji Mohammed Shani, has been charged with conspiracy to commit crime, possession of firearms, and also preparing to commit crime. A bench warrant was issued for the arrest of the suspect after 3 men who were arrested with firearms at Kuabila in the West Mamprusi municipality of the Northeast region were actually named him as the recipient of the arms they were transporting. The 3 suspects, Amadou Al-Hassan, Ghanaian, and 2 other Nigerian nationals, and also some individuals were arrested with a loaded AK-47 rifle, a pistol, and some ammunition in the vehicle they were actually traveling with.
Speaking to Joy News, the Northern Regional Crime Officer, Superintendent Bernard Baba Nanga, said Alhaji Shani turned himself in and they executed the warrant and he was charged. He said he was presented before a court and has been granted bail. Superintendent Baba Nanga said investigations are still ongoing to arrest some other accomplices.
Suspects indicated that they were taking those ammunition arms to the said Alhaji Shani, and we obtained warrant to arrest him. He reported himself, we executed the warrants, and then we charged him, immediately sent him to court for him to assist us in the investigations. So, as we speak, Alhaji Shani has been granted bail and is currently with us. Though he's assisting us one with the other, the investigations are still ongoing for us to look at other accomplices involved in the case. Your conspiracy to commit crime, possession of firearms and ammunition. We're also looking at initial charges of preparation to commit crime and other issues that we are looking at. So maybe at the appropriate time, when we are done with the investigations, we'll be able to add other charges.
Superintendent Ananga said the suspects were arrested at a location identified as a pro-robbery zone, adding that they were preparing to launch an attack.
The suspects, we suspected them of taking the arms to an area. That location is a robber-prone area. That's Kukubila on the Bolgatanga Tamale Highway. That's where we put our men there on snap check duties to look out for persons that go there to rob. Most of the times, vehicles, when they get to those locations, they are always susceptible to these robbery activities. So where they were found looked so odd, and we suspected that they were there preparing to attack and rob. We don't know the target though. That's why we were saying that they were preparing themselves with set arms, looking for a target to rob. However, they explained to us that they were rather taking those arms and ammunition to someone who, in our case, is the suspect, Alhaji Shani.
Well, let's stay on the police because the police in the northern region have begun investigations into an alleged rape case involving 2 military officers. The victim and her husband say they were traveling along the northern command zone when their motorbike developed a fault. 2 military officers allegedly accosted the husband and the wife, physically assaulted them, and one allegedly dragged the victim into a nearby bush and raped her. Correspondent Martina Bogri has more in this report.
Confirming the incident, the Northern Regional Crime Officer, Superintendent Bernard Baba Nanga, said a complaint of an alleged rape has been made to the police. He added that the police has written to the Northern Command of the Ghana Armed Forces for the release of the 2 military officers to assist with investigations. He, however, declined further comment.
Yes, our attention has been drawn to an issue like that, which a gentleman reported to us, and which we just commenced an investigation. We are yet to gather more facts and come out to who at the appropriate time will brief you.
In a related development, suspect in the Stefan rape case in the Saviligu municipality of the Northern Region has been charged with murder, and he has been remanded into police custody to support with investigations. Superintendent Ananga said he was fished out after a year of investigation.
Suspect learning that the victim had passed on, went into hiding. So we sought for him. Subsequently, we got him arrested around about the other area and then brought him to the office here. We charged him and then we are in before court. He was arrested somewhere around, looking at the, you see, he was arrested on the 20th April 2022, that's this year, after running away for almost getting to a year now. And he is on remand, assessing the investigations.
The Northern Regional Police Crime Officer recounted events that led to the death of the 18-year-old who was raped by Abdul Fattah Yusuf.
There was this young girl, about 18 years or so, who was attending a naming ceremony around Nambalaga in the DRA area. Along the line, she came to the roadside looking for means of transport to go there. And this gentleman surfaced on his bicycle, offered to give her a lift. The suspect persisted, and the victim, now deceased, joined the bicycle to the naming ceremony area. About halfway to the journey, this gentleman took a different route and took the girl straight to a place looks like a bush, raped this young girl, so the lady started bleeding. For the information when we interrogated the victim, was that this particular gentleman forced her, and with the magnitude of the force involved in the rape resulted in her bleeding excessively. She was admitted at Saviligu hospital, where the doctors treated her, however had to transfer her to TTH for further medical attention. It was at that place that she passed on.
A 14-year-old boy is battling for his life at the Nalerigu Baptist Medical Center in the Northeast region after he was reportedly attacked with a battery acid by a teacher identified as Ibrahim Salifu. The father of the boy, Gideon Wonduna, narrating the incident to JoyNews, said his son was accused of attempting to steal a bicycle. His accusers allegedly tied the boy to a wooden bench and lashed him with sticks for hours before pouring the acid on him. There's more in this report by Ilyasu Tanko.
Boy was allegedly attacked by a man identified as Ibrahim Salifu, a teacher at Nalerigu Senior High School. Doctors at the facility say the boy's condition was so bad that the only option to save his life was to cut off his one arm and a leg at the same time due to the severity of the damage caused by the battery acid. His father, Gideon Wundowa, narrates the incident which occurred at Nalerigu to JoyNews.
He told me that he was moving around picking scraps. So he came and met a big tin tomatoes, they were empty ones. No? So he picked them and they were plenty. So he rather used his bicycle, kept his bicycle over there and pick another bicycle from the house so that he can go and sell them and come back. So he left the bicycle there and went and sold those things. When he was coming back, the man met him and said that he stole the bicycle. And he said, no, I did not steal it, but this is what happened. So that the man tied him and called some people They put one drum here, and then they put wood on top of the drums. They tie his leg and their hands and hang him. They were rolling him and they were whipping me. So he told them, no, they should exercise patience. This is what is happening. They did not listen. To say that it happened around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, up to in the night, 7 o'clock p.m. before he said that they should bring the bottled water. So when they brought the bottled water, he poured it on the boy's legs and the hands.
As recounted by the father, the boy was out with a bicycle in search of metal scraps when he came across plenty of empty tomato cans. While contemplating how to convey the cans, he saw a bicycle parked in front of a house, and because his bicycle does not have a carrier, he decided to leave it behind and go for the one that was parked without the permission of its owners. As he returned the bicycle to claim his, the man, with the help of other attackers, accosted and tortured him to unconsciousness over the accusation that he attempted to steal the bicycle. At the hospital, the boy was still confined with marks of the assault visible all over his body. He looks pale and emaciated, and doctors say he risks undergoing the amputation of the other leg.
And the one who did that to him he's called Ibrahim Salif, a teacher at Nalerugu Senior High. That's his name. The guy name is Fire. That's what they call him at the senior high there. But me, I have nothing to do, but I need justice.
On his sick bed, the boy denied the allegation, saying the man dumped him in a bush after pouring the acid on him. Police in Nalerugu arrested the man Ibrahim Salifu to face justice, but he was quickly released following an alleged interference by the Nalerugu traditional authorities. The boy's father says he's unhappy with the way the police in Nalerugu are handling the matter. According to him, the police investigation into the matter doesn't look promising, and he therefore calls for public support to get justice for his boy.
I'm not happy because they last told me that I should come back. When I came back, the one who's handling the case is not in town. I don't know what they are doing. I'm not happy because it's my boy. What I'm going through, if I tell you, not believe, I'm not happy. You know, every day before they could do these things, you go and buy this is cotton and those things. I've been buying them. I have the receipts in my house. I've suffered a lot.
The matter has since been reported to the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice for further action.
I need people to stand on me so that I will get justice for my boy. But the way he's lying down right now, you know, you can see him. He can't do anything again. Nothing. He can't do it again. So how am I going to handle him? So I need justice.
From Nalerugu, Elias Sutanko, reporting for JoyNews.
Now, there is a protracted standoff between traders and management of the KJTR market in Kumasi over the payment of charges for owning stalls at the facility known as Market Premium. Now, leadership of the trade union has asked members to actually break the padlocks if management of the facility locks their shop up for non-payment of the charges. Now, chairperson of the concerned Central Market Traders Association, Frank Entry, claims the government gave the traders 5 years to defray the cost of the shops, but management of the market wants early payment.
Over 10 trade unions at the KJTR market met at the center of the new facility to discuss issues inhibiting smooth running of their businesses. Accessibility to some areas of the market, high utility bills and service charges, as well as insecurity were major concerns. Chairman of concerned Central Market Traders Association, Frank Entry, says management is gradually pushing them out of business by locking their shops.
So I told my members that if you come to your shop and you see that the management lock your shop with padlock without the court notice, you break up, because we are sure on them that we have 5 years mandate to pay the premium. We don't tell them to not pay the premium because we know that we own the government about the premium.
Several meetings with the management to resolve bottlenecks in the payment of premium for the shops have not been successful. Frank Entry says the traders should break padlocks anytime management locks their shops.
We are going to break the lock until we have the court notice. If it is court, we go to court and defend ourselves. But if the power is from the management or anywhere, we break the shop.
Accessibility to the market is another concern of the traders. Some areas of the market are virtually cut off, affecting patronage of shops in the area. The Public Relations Officer for the Kejetia Traders Association, Andrews Kofi, says there have been appeals for additional gates to the facility.
The market, what is the purpose of market? For people to enter and go freely. If there is chaos here, I bet you we will find it difficult to evacuate everything here.
How many gates are here?
The gates, we have about 7 gates. We need more than 20. We need more than 20 gates here. So this is one of our problems. You see, the area is locked. Kejetia is not accessible. And there are other markets around. If the person who is coming here does not find the place accessible, he will decide to buy his thing somewhere.
Awuku Malik's report read to you.
And our students of the Koforidua Secondary Technical School say they are determined to lift the 2022 National Science and Maths Quiz trophy after they beat St. Martin's Senior High School, St. Thomas and Paul's and Baypon Senior High School to actually qualify for the National Championship. Now, there was wild jubilation at the Nat Hall with some of the students singing and dancing back to their school, which is a short distance from their quiz auditorium. Maxwell Agyapa has the rest of the story from the Eastern region.
Their last major outing was in the NSMQ 2021. They were kicked out at the preliminary stages by Sogah Senior High School. Today, they beat St. Martin's, SHS, and 3 other schools to qualify for the National Championship later this year. These overjoyed students of Koforidua Sectech tell me they are going back to their school to continue with their celebration. But they want to speak to JoyNews first before they move to their school, which is just about 5 minutes walk from the Nat Hall, where the regional championship is taking place. Let's speak to, okay, so you're the head boy? Head boy?
Yes, please.
Okay, what's your name?
Please, my name is Sepenu Clifford. Let me start from last year. Last year, we were expecting that we would go far, but then our people couldn't make it.
And then, Senior High School kicked you out?
Yes, please, yes, please. And then this time around, I think that we are really prepared for the nationals. I think any school, we are really, let me say, we want to take the trophy and then bring it back to Koforidua, the Eastern region. We want to make Eastern region nowadays one of the. We want to make Eastern region proud. Like, looking at the number of years, the trophies has been going to Central region and then the other schools, Accra, Greater Accra and the rest. But this time around, we are taking the trophy to Koforidua. We are making Eastern region, we are bringing back the Eastern University again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What's your name?
My name is Oscar, the Assistant Chief Prefect of Sector.
What should we expect at the national?
Actually, you should. There is nothing more you should expect than the best from Koforidua Sector. And you know, when it comes to champions, you can never take SecTech out of it. So this time we stand for the best and we are bringing the trophy to the Eastern region. That's the best.
Charlie, we expect to take the trophy back to Koforidua SecTech, man. Yeah, prepare to. Yeah, Agyapa. Koforidua SecTech. Mary Mama.
Definitely expect more from the National Science and Maths quiz, which we'll be bringing to you here on the Joy News channel. But guess what? Our sister channel, Joy Learning, is 2 years, and that platform is also promising you an exciting content in the coming days. You need to hear all about that. Guess what? I have Nanaya Asiedu Asante, who is the channel lead at Joy Learning, joining us to talk about it. So I should first of all be saying hooray, right? Because we are celebrating 2 years. Yes, but what's coming up on Joy Learning? What are viewers to expect in the coming days?
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show. And first of all, I would like to, say that Joy Learning is indeed 2 years, and in our existence for 2 years, we have a very beautiful story to tell, a story of great achievements, a story that has impacted a lot of young students, millions of them across the country. At a time when the situation that we could best describe because of COVID was helplessness, because a lot of them didn't have the hope at that time. They didn't have access to, they were wondering how they were able to continue their education at during the COVID period. Joy Learning was there and provided the educational needs of these children, these students, through the power of television. We as multimedia, we thought that we started Joy Learning just as a fund. Since 2008, Joy Learning wasn't known as Joy Learning. It was a fund called Educare Fund. Right. And at that time, that fund was instituted just to cater for educational needs of individual students. And since 2008, the fund has been able to cater for 450 students. Wow. Until 2017-2018, that's the introduction of the double track system came in, and then it was free. Free SHS policy also came in. Right. So we needed to expand the fund. We needed to find another initiative of reaching out to more people. So that's when the Joy Learning project initiated. And until today, the Joy Learning project has catered for millions of students, that we have really received a lot of testimonies from parents and other stakeholders who have made us aware of how the brand and what the focus, whatever achievement that the brand has done until now. We have, like I said, we have come out with a lot of content and concept because we still want to grow the brand. We still want the poor and the deprived, because the focus of the reason why this brand was initiated by the multimedia group, apart from the fact that it's a not-for-profit brand, right, and it's apart from the fact that it's a corporate social responsibility. The reason why we introduced this is for us to provide educational needs for the poor and the most deprived. even though we have the rich who are also enjoying from, especially students from urban areas who are benefiting. Some of the programs that we have introduced, we are introducing.
I was just about asking you of the programs because I'm sure that you have something in store for us.
We have a lot of programs, but I'll speak about just 3 looking at time. So we've introduced the basic classroom because initially, when the Joy Learning Project started, the focus was on senior high school students. And then later, because of COVID, we expanded to junior high school. Now, looking at the educational reforms, looking at the challenges that comes with the new curriculum that has been introduced, up till now, most students have not received the textbooks, especially with the public schools. And our focus is mostly on the poor and the deprived. So we have introduced lessons also to cover our upper primary level. That is from class 4, class 5, and the class 6. So they can also have a share of the lessons that we are teaching on the Joy Learning platform. And then also we apart from the basic classroom, we also have Teacher and You.
Teacher and You.
Yes.
What's it? Tell me more about that.
A brilliant, a very beautiful concept. That is it is an online classes, virtual classes for free during weekends. So we know that students are enjoying our lessons. We know they have been watching lessons. They even have access to our lessons on YouTube. But we realize that we need to go beyond what the lessons are providing or what the platforms are providing. They want to have direct interactivity with our teachers. We created a platform that we could have the teacher and students can have access directly through Zoom. That is why we have dubbed it the Teacher and You, so that within the week we promote, there's some form of promotion on the specific subjects that the student, the teacher is going to teach. And then on Saturday at 12 noon on the dot, all students can access their Zoom and then they will have access to quality education by Joy Learning. That's the Teacher and You.
Really excited about it. And that's why it's called Joy Learning. You need to check it out. But anyway, Nanaya Asiru Asante, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Blaise Sogah, and that's how we'll wrap up this edition of The Pulse. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more updates.